Hi, how's everybody doing? It's Paul from Magpie 24/7 back again with a preview of the game coming up this weekend against Burnley. Can we continue the absolutely fantastic turn of form since those defeats, since that Brighton game? Newcastle United really have stepped it up and some fantastic results, performances and progress in cup competitions. So yes, apologies there was no review straight after the Manchester City game, but I thought with how quickly games are coming, a review of one game and a preview of the other probably made sense, given to that fact that apart from the football side of it, which has been a welcome distraction, it has absolutely been a week of hell for yours fucking truly. It's not been the best week, to be honest, with everything all and said and all and done. So hoping that Newcastle United continue to provide some welcome distraction and light relief in what has been a pretty shite week personally, for yours truly and family and everything else like that. So yes, without any more of that side of it, we're looking towards the Burnley game, but we are also having a quick glance back in the rearview mirror, as it were, against Manchester City, a game I was at, myself and Carl were at. And yes, to see when we were going into it, we were a little bit, and I'll hold my hands up, I was a little bit nervous, apprehensive. You know, I saw the team sheet, and when you're going up against the European champions, what you want is your best possible players playing, and you're looking at the team sheet and you're thinking, fucking hell. I'm looking at that, and there was no likes of Botman, there was no there was no consistency in selection based upon the previous, demolition of Sheffield United. I think Nick Pope was the only one who sort of kept his place. You're looking at the defence and you're thinking, with the greatest of respect, because they are, great professionals, they've represented the club really, really well. You're looking at the defence and you're thinking, thrown together at best. And a centre-back pairing of Jamal Lascelles and Paul Dummett. Although, like I say, cracking professionals, they won't ever let you down. They'll give you maximum every time that they're selected. You're looking at them, you're thinking Paul Dummett hasn't played in 13 months. Jamal Lascelles has literally seen an ant's knob's worth of action for Newcastle United from a sort of senior perspective. You're looking at both of them and you're scratching your head and you're wondering how we were going to win the game at that point, because you're sitting there thinking, look, the team that Manchester City put out wasn't their strongest, but they had a great bench and they had a good team. And let's face it, that team that was on the pitch and started against us would probably get at least top 6 in the Premier League if they were to sort of register as a separate team. So it's, we're not playing mugs, we're playing serial winners, we're playing the European champions, and we've got a makeshift defence and a pretty much patched up and makeshift team, as it were. But you're going into it and you're sort of thinking, you never know. I said to Carl at the beginning of the game, look, we've got to keep it tight for 20-25 minutes and then hopefully grow into the game and then just try and fuck house a goal. Try and shit house, fuck around, get one in, deflection off your ass, a free kick, something, a moment of magic. And that is how I sort of left it before the game. Look, we're going to go through. We've got to try and right the wrongs of last season. Funnily enough, Manchester United was mentioned. I'll get to that in a minute. But, we have said, look, we need to take this competition seriously. It is a major avenue and opportunity for us. It might be a little bit of irrelevance for Manchester City European champions and Premier League champions and so on and so forth. But for us, it would mean absolutely fucking everything to win that cup. So, we settled into the game. It was a backs against walls type job. We had one or two opportunities during the first 45 minutes. And going into the second half again, you just sort of pretty impressed how we managed to keep them quiet, I'll say that. But, we're sort of sitting there thinking, we've got to ask these a few more questions in the second half. We can't just sit back. If we're going to win it, we need to take it to them and show a bit of aggression, attitude, basically just not show them as much respect as I think what we were showing them. Go for it and try and impose ourselves and our style and that Newcastle United DNA on the game. The changes, I think, were critical. Nothing against the lads who came off because, they give the all and stuff like that, but the changes stepped us up several gears. There was a definite buzz around the place. There was a difference in the atmosphere around the stadium in the second half to the first half. And again, I think the likes of the introduction of Gordon and Bruno certainly lifted and inspired everybody who was stood around them. And the effort for, you know, the remaining sort of 51 minutes, was it, in total, with the 6 minutes of stoppage time. It was absolutely spectacular. The goal was a great moment of class. Joe Linton, who I know Liverpool got all the plaudits, and yes, 1,000,000% agree, man of the match. But Joe Linton definitely deserves a special mention. Great to see him back, sooner than expected, because his athleticism, his presence, his, everything about him was just a great benefit to Newcastle United. We do miss Joe Linton when he's not, playing. He kept getting moved around a little bit, but I thought he was absolutely fantastic and definitely deserves a mention behind Livramento as one of the, standout performers. A moment of quality, all about Joe Linton. And when that ball went in, they celebrated, you'll have seen the pictures, celebrated right in front of us all. I was going off it, literally fucking ape shit. This day, I think I travelled about 800-900 miles that particular day. I'd been driving, we'd been out and about for about 12-13 hours. I was absolutely wrecked, travelling all over the shop I was before the game. So when the goal went in, it was a massive moment of relief. And I think you'll see from the pictures, I was in the moment. I was definitely in the moment. I was going mental, singing my heart out, trying to, at every opportunity to get behind the lads. And it was fantastic. And to knock out the current European champions, I don't care whether you want to class it as second string. They brought some of the big hitters on. They didn't bring Haaland on. But Newcastle United definitely deserved progress through to the next round. Pep Guardiola, who a lot of other managers could learn off, was gracious after the game. Obviously passionate and wants to be a winner during the game, which I've no problem with. But after the game, it was gracious and classy as ever. But yeah, a fantastic one. And Eddie Howe, Jason Tyndall getting serenaded after the game was, again, absolutely great. So yeah, into the next round. I should have kept my mouth shut before the game, saying about wanting to set the record straight against Manchester United, because who did we get in the next fucking round but Manchester United? Now, I will just put this with the caveat again. This isn't the Manchester United of old. This isn't the greatest Manchester United side ever. It's a very, very good Manchester United side. They've got some great players. The manager is good, although he's a bit of a big-headed, up himself, arrogant little shitbag, if I'm being honest. But, away from home, you always want a home draw. We had to go and get Manchester United. I had to open my fucking mouth. It's probably my fault. Although the fact that the draw looked a little bit rigged, I must admit, ex-Macam and all that, looking out, trying to find our number when Manchester United were pulled out. But, we'll park that to one side for the time being. I still think Newcastle United can go down there and do a number. If we can beat Manchester City, we can beat anyone, and that should be a warning for all of our opponents. Yes, we went through a little bit of a niffy start, however there was circumstances around it all and stuff like that. So underestimate Newcastle United at your fucking peril. So that's that one sort of done and in the record books. And now we move on. Again, the games are coming so fast. It's fucking ridiculous every couple of games. The games are coming thick and fast. We've got Burnley this weekend, and although they are winless obviously in the Premier League since coming back, they have got an absolutely fucking great manager, a great talker, a great motivator, obviously a former great player, and their time will, I'm almost sure, most definitely come, and we just don't want it to be this weekend. Now, the fact that the games are coming, it's like a fucking game of bingo. Every couple of days, another fucking ball drawn out, you know what I mean? They're coming thick and fast at you. It means that when injuries happen, or strains, or knocks, or potential issues, it's a big risk, to, especially with the Champions League coming up next week and Paris Saint-Germain at home. I can't wait for that one. But it's like, do you risk some of our big hitters? We haven't got the biggest squad. We do have to be careful, and we have got injuries. Dan Burn is thankfully back after a bit of illness, so that's a great relief. But Isak, Wilson, Botman will all face late fitness tests. We're obviously already without Willock. Great to hear that Emil Kraft is coming back into a reserve game later on today, an under-23 game, so perhaps in the next couple of weeks he will come back into the fold. to offer us further reinforcements. But the news about Harvey Barnes today was a kick in the fucking balls. It really was. He is going to be out for the rest of the year. We will see him again in the new year. And he'll be like a new signing, won't he? The old adage, the old saying, it comes back. But yeah, Harvey Barnes, a freak injury. Don't really understand too much about it, but no surgery, has to wear a protective boot, and you were looking at a couple of months before he is back. So that's disappointing, but let's say positive about Emil Kraft. He offers you, versatility and another option, right back, centre back, and he certainly again is another one of these players that doesn't let you down. And given the fact that Dummett and Lascelles, who again, Dummett got a lot of plaudits after the game, Lascelles did fantastic as well, I thought, against Manchester City. But them coming back into form and playing so well does give Eddie Howe a bit of a welcome headache, and it does possibly allow him to, I can see the comments section already, to possibly play Lascelles in this game. Paul Dummett had a little bit of cramp towards the end of the game after not playing for 13 months. But you could bring Lascelles in if, we are going to be without Sven Botman for this game, to look at the longer term, not to risk it. So let me know what you think about that down below. Eddie Howe's talked today, like I say, we've got a number of niggly injuries, strains, worries. The likes of Callum Wilson, they should be okay to go, but then it's just risking it with regards to the big games that are going to be coming up. Next week, Paris Saint-Germain, and then the games just keep coming all the time, every couple of days. It's not allowing players to recuperate and recover right. And you've seen the amount of injuries across the Premier League. We're no different. We've got our injuries. And it's that balance and risk and reward. Picking the team is very, very difficult. Eddie Howe's even spoke about the need possibly to deploy an emergency striker. Anthony Gordon, who played well for England in the summer in that position, could be one of them. Jacob Murphy was mentioned as a second choice emergency striker. Or Big Joe Linton, he could go up top. He did do that role somewhat previously, especially under Steve Bruce. He's played as that focal point striker. It's not his best position. We'll say that. We'll leave it as that one. I think Joe Linton's fantastic. I think he's an amazing player. I love him to bits. Want him to stay long term, but I don't think he's a central striker. I really, really don't. I think he looks better a slightly wide left player, if I'm being honest. That's where I see him longer term. But yeah, you talked about a couple of different ways that we could get round, possibly players missing this weekend's game, including Joe Linton playing up there, and including another mystery tactic, which he hasn't quite thought about yet, but he says, I've got one there. Yeah, so if we need it, we could perhaps play with a false 9, no 9 up there. I don't know, but he's got something up his sleeve. Clearly, he was having a bit of a laugh and a giggle about it with the rest of the journos at the press conference and stuff. So yeah, there could be a few changes this weekend with the longer term schedule coming up. It needs looking at. It really, really does. It's not fair on fans having to pull out left, right and centre for game after game after game. It's obviously not good for the players. It's not good for injuries. You're missing the top names. You want to see the best names playing all the time, and got to build in breaks, because even when there's breaks at the moment, all of a sudden there's a couple of international games and bang, there's no actual physical break for the lads. And I know, look, they're not working 9 till 5. They're not working the arse off for a couple £100 a week and that sort of thing. They haven't got the pressures and strains of what everybody else sort of has. But still, they are human at the end of the day. And I think a little bit more thought needs to go into the scheduling of some of these games. The Pep Guardiola comments about the bus and it not being good enough to drive back down to Manchester in the bus. It's funny. It makes headlines, it clicks and all that sort of thing. But I think his overall point about player welfare is one that needs to be looked into. But yeah, back to this weekend's game. Injuries are going to be a big thing. And I think you will see in the second half that if we are into a sort of winning position, that Eddie Howe will want to bring players off and rest and take minutes out away from them to, preserve the legs and everything else like that. I personally think Wilson will be fine. I think Wilson will start this game up top. Isak will be on the bench. Because I think Isak starts against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League, and I'm going with that sort of basis. Nick Pope, no problem in goal, keeping clean sheets now, and deservedly getting some praise and some love again. His name was sang throughout the game against Manchester City. A cracking keeper. We wouldn't be in the Champions League. We wouldn't have made the Cup final last season if it wasn't for him. He's an amazing keeper. Really, really is. Nick Pope, middle of our goal. Across the back, Trippier. That was his first game that he's missed in, I think, about 2 years, as he was rested and Livramento, came in. Now, there is, and we were talking about this at St James's last time out, there is the call for Livramento to play right back and Trippier to go in at left back. I don't see him doing it for this game. Honestly, I don't. So I think it's going to be Kieran Trippier on the right-hand side. In the defence, this is going to be a difficult one. I think Shea comes in. He was rested for literally all but the dregs. He came on, didn't he, right at the end. But he'll start. And then who do you start beside him? Is Botman okay? I think he will be. I think he'll shake it off. I think he'll play. And I think perhaps he'll get substituted, like I say, second half sometime to give him a little bit of a break, a little bit of a breather. And then on the left back slot would be Dan Burn. I think he'll go back to basics, back to Dan Burn. You know what you're going to get, for Burnley. So, he's, I don't think he's had some bad games recently. I think he gets a lot of bad press, to be honest. Opposition do try to target him, but I think he's been doing fine recently. He was ill. He's okay. I think he'll come in on the left back slot again. He gives you the height, doesn't he? We perhaps going to need that physical, presence at the back as well. He'll need him at the back. So, yeah, Dan Burn at left back. In midfield, again, for Bruno coming on, Anthony Gordon coming on, changed the outlook of the game completely. But Sean Longstaff will walk straight back in. Miley got a few minutes. That was nice to see, wasn't it? Hall got a few minutes. I don't think they'll play in this game, to be honest. They may make the numbers up on the bench. And it's then who do you play around? So Sean Longstaff in. He's been playing fantastically for Newcastle. Gets a lot of negative press. Shouldn't do, but does. It's the old local lad thing. I don't know, they just seem to get it a little bit more. But Sean Longstaff has been fantastic. He will be in the middle. Bruno, and then it's who do you play in the other, position. You've got Tonali. I thought he did all right. I thought he did well against Manchester City, but no doubt that'll take a lot out of him. Are we keeping him back for the Champions League? Perhaps. I think Elliot Anderson comes in to complete that particular section of the team. So that's Sean Longstaff, Bruno Guimaraes, Elliot Anderson. There's your midfield three for me. And it's then how do you build it up going forward? Who's going to be the front three in attack? Again, lots of options. Jake Murphy, he had probably the best chance in the first half against Manchester City, but he wasn't involved enough for me, and I think the fact he had lots of minutes then suggests that maybe Miggy plays on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, it's a big call. Anthony Gordon, you want to be in the team, you want to be starting, but again, you can't play every minute of every game. So I think because he was called into action early doors against Sheffield United, and that wasn't the plan, it was for Harvey Barnes to play a good portion of that. Because he's had to come off the bench half-time against Manchester City, I think Eddie Howe will want to save him from fatigue. He'll want to keep him as a second-half substitute. So if we are struggling to break them down, it's a great sub to be able to bring on. I think Gordon's on the bench. I think Joe Linton starts on the left-hand side, as long as there's been no reaction to the injury that he had before. But I thought he looked amazing. Different gravy, I really did. So Joe Linton on one side, Miggy on the other, and through the middle, Callum Wilson, Isaac will get a few drag minutes at the end, or we could do what we've done against Manchester City and again just play with somebody up there towards the end of the game. Subs will be critical because it's just all about keeping the minutes and reducing the minutes in the legs as much as possible to guard against fatigue and to guard against picking up stupid injuries. So that's my thought. That's how I'm going with it. So that's just to sort of summarise that. Pope in goal, Trippier, Sven Botman, Fabian Schär, Dan Burn. Across the middle three, Sean Longstaff, Bruno and Elliot Anderson. And then Joe Linton on the left, Miggy on the right. And up top, it'll be Callum Wilson. That's what I think that Eddie Howe's going to go with. Arguably, you can say it's not our strongest team, but it is about squad management. It is about trying to keep as many players fit as possible. It's about trying to spin those plates around. Because we just can't afford. We haven't got the the quality in depth for some areas, and we're waiting for other players to get back fit. The likes of Joe Willock, who we've had a bit of an update on in the press conference. Eddie Howe spoke about the fact that he's out on the grass, but he's working with the sports scientists, the doctors and stuff. We're still looking at probably mid-October before he's back into first team training, and then probably towards the end of the month before he'll be available for selection. So it's good to see Joe Willock back on the comeback trail. Disappointing about Harvey Barnes. Good to hear about Emil Kraft coming back playing for the under-23s later on today as I record this on Friday. So like I said, a little bit of a mixed bag. A few knocks, a few niggles. I think it was smart what we did against Manchester City. We're through to the next round and we haven't had to use everybody. So that's a definite positive. But it's a very delicate balancing act that Eddie Howe is having to do at the moment. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Already whittled on for long for long enough and stuff. But a lot to get in and a lot to look forward to. So yeah, Burnley next up, and then a little matter of back to the Champions League. Cannot fucking wait to hear that song played on St James's Park. I've waited for so fucking long. It's unbelievable. So I hope everybody out there is okay and doing okay. I hope you had a better week than me, because like I say, it's been an absolute shower of shite, and it's been so difficult away from football. Obviously, this week it's been a difficult one. It's been a hard one. So hopefully Newcastle United get the 3 points and we cement our place in the top half of the Premier League. Still very early days table, but you know, I think we're 8th at the moment. Get another victory on a rare Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. We don't have many of them these days, do we? Fucking hell. So yeah, let me know about the team that you'd go with down below. Who do you think Eddie's going to go with? The injury situation, strikers as well. Maybe you put a comment down below about that. Who plays up top if Wilson and Isak aren't fit enough? If we start with them, if they are fit enough but have to come off, who should play up top? What's the formation? It's a shame we didn't have that Garanko all around, because I'd be tempted to give him some time as well. We could have done with that third out and out, to me, recognised striker, but you know, the money only stretches so far, the budget's only stretched so far, and FFP, of course, is always there like a fly round shit just to complicate matters, you know. So let me know about all that down below, and not about the fly round shit, you know what I mean, about everything else. Subscribe to Magpie 24/7. We are literally now that Ants Knob away. We're under, you know, I think we need about another 10 or something like that to finally pass the 2,000 mark. So any support on that would be greatly appreciated. Hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell as well on the video, and in the meantime, take care, keep it tuned, and I'll speak to you later.